to all the brownies from Girl Guiding Ulster. This is Alita from Science Starz, and I'm back to do some more fun hands-on science with you. So for today's video, we're going to be looking at forensics. Have you ever heard of the word forensics? Do you know what it is or what it means? Forensics is using scientific methods to solve a crime. So one of the things that's involved in solving a crime is fingerprint detection. So today we're going to be investigating our fingerprints and we're going to be dusting for fingerprints. So if there is somebody that took your book and moved it, you would be able to figure out who has been touching your book by dusting for fingerprints. So we're going to show you how to do that today. And I'm also going to introduce you to a place in Carrickfergus where they do loads of forensics every day. So let's get started. You will need a sheet of paper with your hand drawn on it and a square that you will be shading in with the pencil. A makeup brush or a small brush of some sort, a pencil, sellotape, some sort of powder like cocoa powder or corn flour, something clear and plastic. I'm using a piece of a lid from a salad, hand lotion. If you happen to have a magnifying glass, great. So let's have a look at our fingerprints. Take your magnifying glass and have a look and see how well you can see them. Do you know what's so special about your fingerprints? What do you think is special about them? Everyone's fingerprints are different. They are unique. Even twins have different fingerprints. So as you get older, your appearance may change, your hair might turn gray or fall out, and the shape of your face may even change, and your appearance may be altered, but your fingerprint pattern never changes. It stays the same for your whole life. So let's have a look at a few here. We have a plain arch, which is just a simple arch like so. We've got a tented arch. Do you see that peak there? It looks like a tent. We've got an ulnar loop, which is very similar to the radial loop. It's just the opposite. So if it's pointing towards your thumb, that's the radial loop. But if it's pointing towards your fingers on your thumb, if it's pointing towards your fingers, that's the ulnar loop. Now, double whorl loop. Can you see the double loops there? The plain whorl, which is somewhat like a circle, it looks circular. The last one, the accidental whorl, doesn't really fit any of the other patterns. It's generally a combination between an arch and a whorl, or a loop and a whorl, or a whorl and an arch to make one distinct pattern. So now that you've investigated your fingers with the magnifying glass, now we're going to get our fingerprints. So take your sheet and fill in this box here with the pencil. So what we're going to do now is we're going to choose a hand, left or right. We're going to use our right hand. I'm going to ask my volunteer Kian to put his thumb into the gray box. Okay, go ahead, Kian. Squeeze it, push down, twist it if you have to. Yep. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab some sellotape. So hold your finger there for now, your thumb rather. Let's see your thumb. You might need some help with this to get the tape off and onto your finger. So let's put that right under there. And we're going to put the tape onto the thumb, and then the pencil lead is going to transfer onto the tape, as you can see here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to stick it onto the thumb. Then we're going to do the same with the remaining fingers. So now choose your index finger and put that into the gray box. And rub it around. Good. So just to observe Kian's fingerprints, I see loops on each one of his fingerprints. Now that is not surprising because 60 to 70% of the world's population have loops. Some of the loops are pointing towards the thumb, and those are called radial loops. And then some of them are pointing towards the little fingers, like this one here on his index finger. So that one is the ulnar loop. Now, the other types of fingerprints aren't as common, like the whorl and the arch. Only 5% of the world's population have the arch type of fingerprint, and about 25 to 35% of the world's population have the whorl. So it will be interesting to see what you have on your fingerprints. Does anybody have the rarest type, the plain arch or the tented arch? So now it's time for our second activity. For this, we are going to leave our fingerprints on this plastic sheet here and see if we can uncover them. So because our fingers have a natural oil, if we touch any surface, the fingerprints are going to be left on that surface. For today, I'm going to make my fingerprints just a wee bit oilier so that I make sure I get a good impression. So I'm just dabbing my fingers in a bit of lotion so that I can feel a nice greasy texture, but not too much. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this plastic sheet and I'm going to put my fingers, press them onto the sheet one at a time, being careful not to overlap them. So I'm going to go all the way around the sheet, and I can somewhat see them, but I wouldn't be able to tell if they were mine or somebody else's because it's very difficult to make it out. So in order to uncover them, to make them more visible, what we're going to do is we are going to add some of the dusting powder. So open up the lid very carefully and pointing straight up so it doesn't spill. We are just going to tap gently a little bit of powder onto the plastic sheet like this. Okay, now once you've done that and put the lid on, you can give it a little shake to make sure it gets all around the sheet. And then what you're going to do is you're going to get your brush and gently brush, ever so gently brush the sheet, making sure you dust where the fingerprints were placed, where you pressed on them, where you pressed your fingers on them. Okay, so what we can do now is give it a good tap to make sure. So if you look closely, you can see that your fingerprints are showing up a wee bit better, can't you? You see that? So here we can use our magnifying glass to have a closer look. So what the FBI or police or crime scene investigators would do in a situation where they can't remove the item that the fingerprints are on, let's say it's a door handle, and they want to be able to transfer the fingerprints to a lab to investigate closer and to try to match them up with the culprit. They would use the tape, and they would place the tape on the fingerprints that they just dusted, like so. And that way they would be able to lift the fingerprints very similar to the way that we were able to transfer the fingerprints in our first activity. So they would then place it onto some sort of card or sheet of paper to then transfer to the lab for closer analysis. So I just happen to have some fingerprint lifting tape. So this is exactly what the police or FBI or crime scene investigators would use to lift off the fingerprints, just like we've done today with the sellotape. And I also want to show you the kind of powder that they use. So this is powder made out of aluminium, and they would just tap a wee bit on to the fingerprints, just like we did, and this is the type of brush that they would use. So they would move it around. It's a very, very light, soft brush. So they would be able to lift the fingerprints in the same way that we have done today. Today we have learned how to observe our fingerprints and to identify what types of fingerprints we have. We've also learned how to lift fingerprints off of surfaces for closer observation. We've learned that no two people have the same fingerprints and that our fingerprints can be used to identify us. Why not try to dust other surfaces for fingerprints in your home? Make sure you ask for permission first. Who knows, it could be you working for Forensic Science Northern Ireland in Carrickfergus someday. So to all the brownies out there, today we have learned a little bit about forensics. We've talked about what it means to be a forensic scientist, and we've even learned about a local company in Carrickfergus called Forensic Science Northern Ireland that has some of the best forensics expertise in all of Europe. So I hope you have enjoyed investigating your fingerprints today, and I hope you've enjoyed dusting for fingerprints, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care everyone, bye for now.